r/AskReddit. Oldest siblings of Reddit. What do you hate about being the oldest sibling? We had rules of when you get to X age, you'll get X thing you're allowed to do, like stay up later, watch worse rated movies, etc. But I was the oldest kid of 3, and the second I was allowed to do anything, my little bros were instantly allowed to do it too. I paved the way for you guys. My younger sister got a TV in her room before me. She also got a computer in her room, and I never did. It was a shooter, but still. It took forever to finally get cable in my room, and my sister had that sheet going for well over a year, and she's 2 years my junior. The only exception I've seen is that my parents did kind of adhere to age restriction on movies. My parents rented Jackass when I was I think 14 or 15. And my sister was absolutely not allowed to watch it. My dad knew my friend, who basically lived at my house, and I weren't dumb enough to try any of that shit, so we were allowed to watch it. My older brother told me his whole life he hated the fact that whenever he made a mistake he was a big disappointment to our parents, but when the rest of us made the same mistake later, our parents were already pretty much over it. I just bought a motorcycle and my parents went out of their goddamn minds. My brother said he had been waiting a long time for one of us to get a bike first, so he didn't have to be the disappointment. I passed all my A levels but got cheat grades, and it was like the world was ending. My brother failed everything twice and it wasn't a big deal at all. I think it goes both ways. My older brother and I were held to insanely high standards for our grades, but our younger siblings failed pretty often without our parents blinking an eye. Then my little brother wrote an essay in high school, saying he felt like the family failure because he had to walk in my shadow. The grass is always greener, I guess. Hearing the ducking you are his hero speech from your parents. IDKY, I hate that so much. Am I the only one? Number. I'm the younger sibling and I hate it too. She idolizes her brother. No I don't, mum. I actually hate that glass hole. My brother got every privilege at a younger age than I did. We're 4 years apart. I had to wait until I was 12 to listen to the parental advisory music. My brother then complained about how it wasn't fair, and my mom caved a few months later. Same with having my own phone line, watching PG-13 movies, you name it. Man, I had to go to bed at 8 until I was 12, because my sister would kick up so much fuss that we went to bed at different times 3 years apart. Dang. Your sister didn't go to sleep until 3 years after you did? Must be tough. How did she live like that? 3 years apart? Damn. When things go wrong and your parents aren't able to be there for you, it's usually the oldest sibling that has to step up. My mom got sick when I was in high school and college, and everything then became my job. I'd go buy the groceries after school. I'd get home early to cook for everyone. I would take my brother out to buy clothes supplies. I had to do the majority of the cleaning. It has left me a little bitter. I was 16, 17 and trying to raise my sibling because my mom couldn't. I had all the house mom duties and none of the perks. The leniency given to the younger siblings. As the oldest, you're basically the guinea pig for your parents, so it's usually easier for the younger ones. Exactly, and your parents getting mad at you for things that years later, your siblings do without punishment. Or your siblings did something that you had absolutely nothing to do with, but you are the one that gets in trouble because you should have stopped them. When I was 17-18, my younger sister and her friends would take our dad's beer and I'd get blamed every single time, until I moved away to college and they kept at it. No dad, I didn't drive 5 hours home from school just to swipe 6 hams out of the fridge. I'm the oldest of 6, and we're all in our 30s and 40s now. But back about 15 years ago, when I was in my 20s and my parents were getting divorced, I was the one they both wanted to vent to because they were too immature to talk rationally to each other. So as the oldest, I was stuck with a lot of go-between tasks, which I did not enjoy at all. This hit me hard. There are plenty of great and shouty things about being the oldest sibling, But this sheet takes the cake. When I was 14, my parents' marriage started falling apart. My mom would vent to me about my dad constantly, and my dad would sulk about my mom to me too. In hindsight, they've both been incredibly immature about everything even though they stayed together. They're still married for shouty reasons, but that experience defined the way I see relationships now. Completely ducked things up for me on that end. I don't know how I am ever getting married, cause duck that sheet. Being constantly snitched on. You didn't raise your siblings well. My siblings and I used to fight, but we never snitched on each other. My dad found out I got a tattoo, and he knew that while I'd been hiding it from him, I would have told my youngest brother. So instead of saying something, he grilled the poor kid, 9 years old at the time, for days trying to get him to break. Kid never said a word. Everything was always my fault, always. Even if it wasn't me that did it, it was still somehow my fault. I even moved away to live with my dad, and when my sibling did something bad, my mom would call to yell at me about how it's my fault. If I were more clever and more stupid at the same time, I might have responded with something like, "So you're telling me I can control my sibling better than you can? I had this too." Whenever I protested it, I'd always get the, "Well, she learned that behavior from somewhere," like, "Yeah, she learned it from you and dad. Goddamn." Having to beat hard bosses and levels for my younger siblings. Learn to play, you scrub. The sheet you cop when the middle sibling gets engaged, buys a house and has a baby before you do. Weird, I don't remember making a second account. My mom was surprising cool about that. My dad oddly enough still has a passive aggressive hint of disappointment whenever it comes up. All the responsibility without the authority or privileges that should come with that responsibility. There were a lot of times so when it wasn't explicitly said, but the general attitude of "duck you, you're the oldest." I also remember having to help my younger siblings with their homework, which really meant doing it for them. I stood my ground on that one. All the responsibility without the authority or privileges that should come with that responsibility. Was always amazing. Watch your brother and make sure he does his homework. Okay, sure. Dude, go do your homework. Don't tell your brother what to do. Well, duck you too. Parents got to make all their parenting mistakes on me. Also, parents never had money with 3 kids until after I left the house. Parents also learned that being super ridiculously strict didn't work well either, so my brothers got to do whatever they wanted. Sometimes I think my brothers have a skewed sense of what their parenting was actually like, because they lived quite different childhoods than I did. Now they act like I was some kind of evil teenager because I rebelled, and they don't realize the living hell their childhood would have been if I didn't break them with my, punkness. Yeah, I got to watch The Simpsons, listen to rock music, and be able to leave the house ever without having to check in every 30 minutes like you guys did. Maybe I wouldn't have rebelled so hard, morons. I guess not having someone to turn to for help that will always be there. When my younger brother started in high school, he had no friends and so hung out with me and my friends until he made some of his own. When I started high school, I had no one for the longest time. Ducking this, I always compared it to drafting in a race. The elder sibling takes the brunt of the resistance while the younger coasts, and then on the final stretch they overtake with ease. Sheet is infuriating. My father when I was 16. Do me a favor, essentially do the thing I tell you, and clean the balcony, will ya? I am now 20 and my brother is 16. My father now, do me a favor and clean the balcony, will ya? Me. Can't my brother do it? My father, no, he's too young. Bruh sound effect number 2 bruh 100-point symbol. Okay, hand. Clapping hands. Fire. Fire. That's your daily dose of the Reddit medic. Remember to subscribe for daily videos. Like for 1 week of good luck. This is the Reddit medic. It's a goddamn pandemic. Sub for daily videos. And don't forget to spread it. I'm a exit. Peace.